Hello, everybody, and welcome to Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't. It's so good to have you here. We are pre-taping. If you put some comments in there, just know that we won't be instantly responding because I'm a middle-aged man and one of the last 27 people who cares about baseball. And the wild card game is happening tonight, and I'm watching the Red Sox play the Yankees, and it's going to be me and four of my closest friends watching on ESPN.
Mike, do you want to offer a prediction?
The Yankees should win. I can't really come up with any version of this where the Red Sox should win the game. I mean, the Yankees have better pitching, but truthfully, I can't really fathom how the Red Sox are even in the wild card game. We've been a team that should have fallen apart multiple times. I mean, we were COVID ravaged. It was a team going into the season that really shouldn't have been a contender. We had pitching issues. We had no closer. We had sketchy offense. We still don't have a second baseman. I don't know how it happened.
This team manages the rare feat, I feel, of being both scrappy and unlikable.
Hey. Scrappy and overpaid, I will accept.
There's some. I adore Rafael Devers. I think he's terrific.
Xander Bogaerts is a wonderful human being. Come on.
No problem with Xander Bogaerts.
That's great left side of the infield.
There's a pervasive sail-shaped shadow that hangs over this franchise right now.
Did we like Sale before we found out he was unvaccinated?
I didn't like him because I felt like the franchise kind of at a certain point prioritized him over Mookie, which might be an unfair dichotomy, but I don't think it's terribly off financially. And he cost on some level he cost me Mookie bets.
Okay, I'm about to get socialist on you for a minute.
Okay, hit it.
This is us blaming labor for the sins of management.
All right, I can see where you're going with this. All right.
Yeah. There is no reason they had to make a choice there. They just did it.
This is the deepest we've ever.
I just want to throw that out there. As soon as we start blaming one player for getting paid and labor and the ownership getting rid of another player, we've lost our way.
Yeah, no, I'm certainly not against Chris Sale making whatever he can make in the open market. I guess I'm bitter at whoever decided what the finances were going to look like for the Red Sox for the upcoming 20 years and deciding to allocate whatever portion of it towards Chris Sale, an oft injured anti-vax lefty, as opposed to literally the most popular player in the major leagues by jersey sales.
Yes. Letting go of Mookie Betts is an unforgivable sin. It's funny because it's so different from what this ownership group usually does, which is prioritize stars. I've always been of the mind that they screwed up in letting Mookie Betts go. And the more and more removed from it I get and look at it with less emotion, the more I think Mookie had to quietly let them know, like, guys, this isn't my future. Don't you think?
I can certainly see that, and I think it's perhaps to the organization's credit that they've kind of kept that from leaking out.
I guess. I mean, it's very weird because Mookie has very publicly said he was open to re-signing. He's never gone back on that. And he said he just wanted to be a free agent. And then as COVID was happening, he took the huge deal from LA. And I can understand not wanting to test the waters when the waters are quite that choppy. But yeah, I just, it's so weird for them to not sign a star the level of Mookie Betts. Usually it's like, all right, we're backing up the truck. We're going to pay you more than anybody else was paying. That's how they got David Price. Was they said, look, we're paying you 20% more than any other major league franchise is willing to pay you. That's how we're getting you. The idea that they somehow stopped at $300 million for Mookie, something's off, don't you think?
300 million. I mean, I don't know.
A gigantic number to be sure, but he's worth more.
Three.
It's all in what somebody was worth and what they're going to generate.
300. Oh my god.
300 wouldn't even have him be in the top 3, I don't think.
I know, and that's
Yeah.
what's just.
It's a weird world.
Yeah. 300.
Am I coming through okay on you guys? Because you are all frozen for me.
Oh yeah, you're coming through fine.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Then I'm fine.
I would think I'm the one who's a little all over the. I have a mild cold from being in the rain.
Oh no.
Yeah. So tea and blankets.
Oh,
what a John Cusack situation.
Yeah.
I thought you were just going like full like cozy record.
I mean, yeah. Also a vibe.
I once dated a girl who came up with the best line. She's like, I don't want to go into work today, but I'm not sick. Can I call in cozy?
I called out black out of my job once after the 2016 election. I called out my manager. I was like, hey, I'm black and I'm tired. And my supervisor was like, I get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
I still got a half day. So, but yeah.
Nice.
Sometimes you just gotta, call out.
Yep. If I ever have a job, I'm going to do that.
Please don't.
I'm not calling black. Just call in sometimes, like cozy or whatever. I'm sorry. No, that was not what I meant. That was not what I meant.
Pretty like important move to make early on in
yeah.
Yeah. You got to do that while you're still telecommuting.
Set the precedent.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was just like at some point I would like to call in and just be like, not coming in today.
Not coming in
today.
Canadian.
All right. We are under a time limit, so we should really get to this TV show that we're talking about here. So we're doing parts 1 and 2 of season 3 episodes. So it's technically 6 and 7, Coach and Love. I wanted to do them both because 1, it's really one contained story. And 2, it makes me sad. And I didn't want to have this in my head for another week. I just wanted to get this all done. I've known this episode was coming. I've not been looking forward to it. It is a very well-made piece of television that bums me out quite a bit. All right, so let's get into it. Season 3, episode 6 and 7, Cheers and Love. Dave, what was happening when they broke my heart?
Let's see. Keep things light and stick into baseball. Episode 1 premiered on November 8th, 1984. 2 days before that, Guillermo, then referred to as Willie Hernandez, became, I think, just the second pitcher ever to win the MVP, Cy Young, and World Series in the same year.
Wow.
Universally acclaimed as one of the worst MVP choices of all time. And frankly, still like irritates me that Pedro Martinez doesn't have an MVP, but Guillermo Hernandez does. I was trying to somehow tie this to like a larger idea of like a creeping conservatism into the country, but I just can't. Like, I'm just trying to manufacture a narrative at this point. The fact is, like,
don't go full Malcolm Gladwell.
No, I can't. I don't want to go. My hair will start like blossoming out, and it'll be weird. I'm not gonna try to ascribe this to any greater social moment, and I'm certainly not gonna go on record and say that Don Mattingly was robbed. So I'm just gonna say congratulations to Guillermo Hernandez, and I'm glad you got yours.
Good on you. Tookie, we have 2 cold openings. Would you like to cover them both at once, or one now, one later?
Let's do it. Let's 2 for 1. Because I also did not care for how sad this episode made me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So episode 1, last call at the bar. Norm is asleep. I mean, most people get kicked out for falling asleep at the bar, but here's Norm, nappy time, right at the bar at his seat. And people are like, oh, you're gonna wake Norm up? Nope. Sam's like, no, you got it covered. An alarm goes off, of course. Norm wakes up, and everybody's telling him how lucky he was to have been spared of Cliff's Florida story. So apparently Cliff is still on that Florida kick again, which implies to me that this man has literally never left his state before. And so they're explaining that, anything that you say, Cliff will use as some sort of in to begin talking about Florida. And Cliff saunters out of the back pool room and, feigns an exit, feigns a couple goodbyes to the people. And, and Sam says, good night. See you later. And Cliff turns around. Well, it's not actually later in Florida. Goes in about time zones and then talks about gators, which we up north know as alligators. But you know what a croc is, right? And just goes on and on and on and on. Cut to credits. And then in episode 2, Carla talks about how she needs coffee while reading one of those tabloids, which actually is one of my 80s moments for this episode.
Okay.
And she said, and Sam kind of chides her a little bit, criticizes her for reading these wacky wild world, so they're called, magazines that you get at the checkout line at your local Stop and Shop. And she's reading about like, oh, no. Well, no, she justifies it, says, no, it's not that I enjoy it. It's just that they have this really great crossword in the back of the magazines. And then so she starts to solve a few of the clues. And she's like, well, a state where a 5-headed cow was born. Oh, Vermont. State with the most UFO babies, whatever that means. Arkansas. And then she's trying to figure out one clue says an aphrodisiac that exists in every kitchen cabinet, and she can't quite figure it out, but she figures out the down, and Sam is like, huh, just slyly taking some notes, and then she figures it out and she goes, that's what it is, oregano. And Sam just furtively notes down oregano and then says trash about the magazine and walks off.
All right, hang on. I'm rejoining the chat because you guys are frozen and I can't read any subtle IQs. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh no!
We're lost.
No!
We're at sea.
What do we do
Just
without our captain?
Just start talking about Family Ties. I don't know what else was on Thursday nights.
Family Ties. Oh, I never watched that. That's the Michael J. Fox one, right?
That's yeah.
Yeah. I know. He was a big deal back in the 80s, and yet I didn't get it.
Okay, this is better.
Hi. I was late to the game. We're talking about Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox was a beast.
Apparently,
you don't understand.
I only know, what's that radio show? Talk Radio or Radio City? What's
Spin City?
Spin City.
Spin City. There you go.
Yeah.
Talk Radio was a totally different show.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
But that was the one.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox. I mean, he had one of the big TV shows in Family Ties, and at one point had Back to the Future and Secret of My Success, I think like 1-2 in the box office at the same time, and then Teen Wolf. I mean, he had like those 3 movies were monster moneymakers with a hit TV show going on, and then it all kind of ended. But,
I saw all 3 Back to the Futures out of obligation to figure out what the hype was about. And I was like, but whose future?
The first one was a really good movie at the time.
For sure.
Some parts have not aged well.
Yeah, no.
Like Michael J. Fox creating rock and roll and black people stealing it from Michael J. Fox has aged poorly.
Terrible.
I think we can all agree.
Marvin Berry?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
It was, but I mean, structurally, that's a really well done movie.
Crispin Glover, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And by the way, John Mulaney has one of the all-time great bits. Like so many comedians have a bit where they're just breaking down a movie and going, "What? What was that?" He does one in The Comeback Kid, breaking down Back to the Future. That is an all-time classic. It's on YouTube. I would encourage everyone to look that up. All right, let's get into it. Coach in Love. There's basically just an A story this week, and it is a woman and her daughter come into the bar. Coach is thunderstruck by this woman, immediately decides he's going to marry her. Coach is a smooth son of a bitch in picking this woman up. Gets Sam to come over and help him because she's with her daughter, Sue. So the woman is Irene, the daughter is Sue. They come over. Sam is trying to help out. Coach needs no help. Immediately gets it going. The daughter is not at all interested. By the way, Sam creepy quotient very high this week.
It's at a 76 this week.
It's oof, man. Yeah, the thermometer broke. It's a rough week for the Sam creepy quotient.
Yeah.
The woman is not interested in Sam at all. He keeps hitting on her for 2 episodes, and it never works. So Coach, smooth as hell, totally gets this woman to fall in love with him. They're dating. Everything is going fabulously. Within a matter of weeks, I think, from the description of it, he proposes. She says yes. She would love to be his wife. She wins $2 million in the lottery, which is my 80s moment, by the way. $2 million in the 80s, making you obscenely wealthy. Look, I would love to have $2 million. Do not get me wrong. $2 million would thrill me. I also know $2 million don't get you to the governor's mansion. Not anymore. You just walking in with the mink and she's going to see the world. And it's like, you're not flying first class if you're going to all those places.
Yeah, $2 million would not make me one of the 5 richest people in Cranston, Rhode Island, where I live.
Not even close. I mean, it might make you king of the street.
Mm.
But yeah, that's my 80s moment when $2 million was rich.
It'd get me a nice down payment on a decent house in Cambridge.
I mean, a condo.
A condo in Cambridge.
Like after taxes, you're not getting a single family. Yeah. But so she wins it, and immediately they're like, what a night. She's like, I know I won the lottery. And what else happened? So, next week, they realize Coach is still completely in love. Irene has postponed the wedding. He has not seen her since she said yes. She's completely obsessed with having been rich. She comes in, says, Ernie, I'm a different woman now with my $2 million, which, by the way, you're hoping gets you through retirement. I can't get past that. I really wish, $2 million in the lottery, that's not even making the news.
Weren't we just talking about $300 million?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think it's funny because I think it's relative to sports salaries is very significant.
Mm-hmm.
Like a $2 million contract in Major League Baseball at that time would have been a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's not even a good reliever. That's all right. We picked this guy up for $2 million.
I wonder if it seems like Irene is aware of the shelf life of this windfall now that she's marrying this rich European industrialite.
Yeah.
Is he supposed to be like the equivalent of like an Aristotle Onassis?
That's kind of what I got, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be the rough equivalent. So he says, no, you're going to be here. I'm going to be here on the wedding day and you're going to come back to me, Irene. And he's just convinced she's still going to get married. And it's heartbreaking to watch. Everyone's trying to get him to realize he's refusing to even entertain the idea that she's not coming back. Finally, it's the wedding day. She does not show up. He is heartbroken, gets a call. He says, it's her, delivers you need to be with the rich guy in this beautiful Coach fashion and heads out. And it broke my heart because Coach deserved this and someone treated him horribly and just not realizing it until the end. It was just so sad. Really, really well done by Nick Colasanto and the whole cast. And I feel like, on top of how sad the story was, I was watching it and feeling like they wrote this as Nick Colasanto's swan song.
Mm.
Like they were probably realizing they weren't going to get a ton of big episodes out of him this season. His health wasn't there. There's even one moment, I don't know if you guys caught this, where I think Coach accidentally cut off a joke and they just kind of kept it in because that was the best take. There's one point where Cliff is saying, yeah, actually Florida comes from the Okefenokee, meaning the place where the old people come to sweat. And which is kind of a funny joke, the way that he delivered it. Coach stomps over the end of that line. And I get that people were sort of like talking over Cliff. I don't think that was on purpose.
I see that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that would have gotten a good joke. Like I watched it both times. I'm like, that the way he's delivering it, that's a good joke. That should have gotten a good laugh. Yeah, at some point they would have done a take where they got the whole joke in and would have gotten a nice laugh. But yeah, just watching it going, oh, like this is them trying to get in one more good big coach storyline, and there'll be the thing with where they go back to night school, and coach certainly is a big part of that. But I think this is the last one where it's really coach's episode. Yeah.
He's so clearly the sort of like beating heart of the series.
Yeah.
To this point, it is kind of amazing to think that they didn't think about ending the series pretty soon. You know, at some point in 4 or 5.
Well, I think season 3 was really where the series started to pick up in the ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as much as we all love Coach, it's an ensemble cast. He's probably 4th on the top of the call sheet. You don't get rid of a top 20 show because the 4th lead is gone, as sad as it is for everyone. And they knew that the thing that would keep the show going, the Sam and Diane banter, all of that was still there. So I don't think they ever really seriously considered the idea of, well, Coach is gone, we can't keep going. They're getting to 100 episodes, especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
You're getting to that syndication money. I mean, I think even if Ted Danson had not come back after season 4, they would have kept going. I mean, it's just the fact that they kept going after Diane. Shelley Long was like, I'm going. That's one of the 2 leads, and arguably the bigger lead because she had a movie career before she took the show.
Oh, she did.
She did Night Shift with Michael Keaton and
Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler, thank you. Yeah, she had done some stuff. That's why she was able to do a 5-year contract. She got a 1 year shorter to agree to do it. And that's why she was able to leave when she did. Yep. All right, general thoughts about these episodes.
Bummer. Well made, but a bummer.
Yeah. David Angel wrote it. And one of the series creators, that's another reason I think they really said, all right, we're doing something special with Nick while he can still do it.
Mm-hmm.
I was really, I didn't remember these episodes at all. And I was genuinely surprised when Irene seemed to forget the proposal at the end of episode 1. And then I thought, oh my God, maybe she's sick. And maybe that's
me too.
I was like, that's what we're really going to, like a tragic 2-parter. Like this is like as close to a very special Cheers as we would ever maybe come. Mm-hmm. But instead it kind of went to something much more sort of callous, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because I had remembered these very well and I knew where it went. I wonder how many people when they first saw it thought that this was her just, something's wrong with Irene. And whether most people read it as, the money is making her think about other things.
It's just such a short window for a complete transfer, like because she's given no clue that she's shallow in any way. Like she's playing like she's genuinely in love with this man. And then it's a phone call, and maybe it's the 2 million thing that it hits our ears different. But like it's hard to imagine like changing that drastically over the course of that 30-second phone call.
Yeah, I wonder if at a time when 250 would have bought a brownstone in Back Bay, like that would not have read. That would have simply read as she's fabulously wealthy now and she's not thinking about anything else.
And also, I'm sure like marriage to somebody in their, and especially maybe a woman in her 60s feels maybe like a little bit more like I don't want to say a necessity, but like a choice you make to kind of to make sure that you're taken care of. And all of a sudden, like that is not a concern when you win the lottery. I guess that might be part of it too. But again, we don't really get a clue of that with Irene in that episode.
Yeah, it was just all weird. It was really weird. But my mind immediately goes to she's not well, or Or my mind also went to when the daughter calls and suddenly she's, oh, I'm a millionaire. Are they scammers?
Hmm. Interesting.
Or did they just blow into town to do they blow in from town to town to
Yeah.
scam people? That's
Oh.
another thought that popped in my head. Like, oh, where is this episode gonna go? Is she gonna
Right.
swindle Coach at some point?
Yeah, that would be, boy, if Coach got swindled twice for a
Oh, yeah.
bartender's pay, that'd be something.
I mean, he had to save up for 4 weeks to take her to Melville's.
I know.
Yeah. I think that never really occurred to me just because Coach is so broke. I'm like, this is the worst pair of long conners in history. These are the worst grifters ever.
Yeah, I get it. He's a mark, but he's a mark taking him like $85 a week.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I want to note, I did not care for the little montage of the outsides of everyone's houses.
No. Okay. So that was for the second part of the episode. They did the recap right after the credits where they do and they've done this once before. And they do kind of the what's going on inside the house as voiceovers. What did you not care for?
It was like almost 5 minutes of filler, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like filler. It just feels like Cheers has a weird problem with doing this with two-parters.
Well, I think we're underestimating the idea of like, it's been a week. No one has a VCR. We need to make sure everyone remembers everything that happened last week. I mean, it's very hard. You can't Google it. There's no series recaps. You had to get everybody back up to speed when you were doing a 2-part episode. That was standard. And I kind of like that they did it in this creative way, because usually it was just a voiceover previously on Happy Days. And then they do a montage, like a quick, 60 seconds of what happened the previous week.
Freeze frames.
And now we're in the show.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, because they did this once before too. These sort of creative recaps, but that are still funny, and in talking, the characters are still active and doing something. So I kind of like that.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just weird to see where
it's not something anyone would do anymore, because you don't have to.
Yeah. No, but it was just weird to see where and how people lived.
Yeah.
Carla's made me genuinely sad.
Yeah.
The North End used to be very different.
Okay. Noted.
Very
I mean,
different.
is it though? I mean, a lot of businesses are still cash only. I can say it because I'm Italian.
Yes.
Allegedly.
No, that is the same. But I mean, the North End, it used to be just where it was a lower class Italian neighborhood with the apartments were decent sized and had huge families living in them. So they were 2-3 bedrooms. And then as more and more people wanted to live in the city, people bought up those buildings, and they either turned them into lofts or they subdivided them. So there's a lot of studios and 1-beds there now. Yeah. But and it made sense that Carla lived there, took the train over to work or got a ride or walked. Yeah. Where did anyone's apartment surprise you? I kept thinking about how expensive Norm's house would be now.
Yeah.
Like just a single family, even I think that would be Brighton, probably.
Yeah.
Where it is. Maybe like Hyde Park, but I feel like that would be quite a hike for him to come into. I kept thinking, well, he was an accountant, they're not far from the financial district. Maybe that's how he started going to Cheers, and that's where he stayed, and that would justify him being more in one of the outer boroughs. But I feel like Brighton makes a lot more sense for him than Cliff.
Do they make little bungalows like that? I haven't seen those, because Alston Brighton is kind of getting paved over.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen houses like that in that neck of the woods. Definitely Hyde Park, which is what puts that in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always kind of stuck to the idea of Norman Brighton, because there were still a lot of single families, some very modest, and it would make sense for him to just shoot down Com Ave and come to Cheers and then take Beacon back home.
That dog is neglected.
Feel very bad for that dog. And that dog, if it makes you feel better, that dog never makes an appearance again.
Good.
Yeah.
All I can think of, like, this dog wants nothing more than to be with Norm, and Norm is gone 20 hours a day.
Yep.
We don't deserve dogs. We don't
No.
deserve dogs.
Do we want to spend any time on Frasier's phone call?
That
That was creepy.
that was Isn't he a psychotherapist?
Yes, he is.
Okay. All right.
Yep, mental health professional.
Yeah.
This
The 80s were different.
I forget how not uncommon an occurrence the dirty phone call was. Even growing, like I remember my aunt got one. I think the
No.
day after my grandmother's funeral, or maybe the night of my grandmother's funeral. Like we're all in her house in Long Island, and somebody called and she picked up and she just started yelling at the phone, which was not unusual for my aunt actually. But then we realized it was because somebody was propositioning her.
The days before caller ID.
It was
The
a
phone
jungle.
used to be such a different experience. I can't even tell you. It's incredible how different the phone used to be. Like the magnitude of importance it held in the house for as little as it did relatively now.
Oh
Its own table. And the idea that someone could contact you from anywhere in the world and there were no repercussions. Like if you were not the CIA, you had no way of knowing who was on that call, no way to trace them back. They could say anything to you during that time and hang up and it was over for life. Yeah.
It's and you would pick up. I mean, you have like this was I think well pre like kind of call screening. Even if you hadn't, if you're one of the few people with an answering machine, like
we were still a few years away from that. Yeah.
And that wasn't like a thing. Like that was only for like when you were out because you had limited tape space.
Yep. Because we're a season and a half away from an answering machine playing an important plot point here. Actually, no, half a season.
Oh.
We're half a season away from when Sam finally gets an answering machine for the bar, and Diane calls in from Italy to try to have him talk her out of getting married, and the machine picks up. And
spoilers, Mike.
Like she doesn't even. There are no spoilers. There are no spoilers in Norm. We're talking about everything. Sorry. That's going to happen, and it's a plot point. I mean, no one's going to care. But he's going to get the answering machine, and she's so unfamiliar with getting answering machines that she's like, oh, Sam is there. Hang up. Yep. Yeah, the phone was so different. I also thought, so real quick about this episode, I feel like Norm kind of came into his own in a different way in this episode. Like George went playing Norm, and to a lesser extent, Cliff, that idea of, look, we don't build many episodes around me. There were more good Norm lines and more Norm just coming in and giving the star player a good pass and occasionally shooting off his own three, and it worked well for him. Like he had a few fun lines where Sam with the tiny B story of Diane bringing in stuff, like Diane and Sam giving each other stuff back from the apartments, which it's months later. What are you doing? So there's a tiny little B story there that I have not referenced. And yeah, so she brings back pants, which she says, oh, to open this later. They're pants. I don't know why that was supposed to be secretive.
I mean, it's a pair of pants.
But
you've
it's
never
not
stumbled...
like it's an intimate piece of apparel. It's pants. Everyone's looking at his pants.
You've never stumbled...
And it's not like, oh, we're trying to keep a secret that we were once lovers. Everyone knew that.
No, but have you ever been out at night, like on the town, and stumbled across a pair of pants?
I have not.
It's a visceral thing.
Yeah, like you ever find just like a pair of pants hanging out in the street? Because like
have you ever been around someone being given a pair of pants? That's not a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I've had a lot happen with pants.
Okay.
There's there have been times I've been walking around, leaving a show or like back in, whenever, like out with.
But you're talking about shocking pants where pants aren't supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but seeing people get pants.
Yeah.
It's, when somebody gets pants, it's either something has gone really right or really wrong. Like it's
Yes,
there's no in
but-
between. There's no in between with pants.
and it would be weird if suddenly someone was giving pants to someone who should not have had access to their pants. Well, that's a big moment. But I mean,
No.
like, if my wife comes in and is like, by the way, here are the pants you said you needed, you wouldn't be like, oh, I'm shocked. It's like, no, that's his wife. They're pants.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's the context.
If you like walked into like your wife's office and be like, honey, I found your pants that you left at the house. That's, it's a little bit sketchier.
But if it was my ex-wife and it's like, I'm bringing you some stuff from before, and it's like, all right, well, I knew that was there. I'm sorry. Maybe I just was not as shocked by the pants as apparently everyone else was.
You've always been one of the more sexually progressive people I know.
I guess I am.
You're the reason why we don't kink shame on this show.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't even tell you the number of people that just hand me cargo pants on any given day. There you go. Check out the left knee.
Cargo pants cuts the sex right out of it. No one ever took off cargo pants to have sex. Like you took off cargo pants to lay down and go to bed.
I'm sorry. That is the epitome of married sex, sir. All right. He's napping. He's playing Fortnite for a little while. Come on.
All right. Well, I've logged off. Good night.
I was saying this in a general sense. Just saying in a general sense, at some point, you see some cargo pants thrown up on the floor and someone's happy. All right, moving on. Okay, so Diane left some things.
Mike's a libertine.
Diane left some things with Sam. A hand puppet, Brian the Lion.
She gave it a kiss after Carla was wiping down the bar with.
Yeah, the high Sam creepy quotient. Now give us some tongue. Very, very uncomfortable. Very weird. But when Sam said, I wasn't cut out to be a puppeteer, I just thought Norm had a great line that is actually my joke of the week. That's a tough thing for a man to admit. It killed me both times I did it. I loved his delivery. I just loved. He's like, here you go. It slayed me. I felt like Norm just had a lot of good lines in this week in a very Norm fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I felt like, it was strong week. It's 2 weeks for Norm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just the whole idea of he's not a god, Norm.
Well, that was the Trevor joke of the week when Norm wept.
Yep. I liked it. Yeah. Really, really fun banter between Sam and Diane this week, where it was just back and forth. It was like a roast battle.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good stuff between them. And I loved Carla's reaction to it.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone was figuring out how they fit into the hierarchy of the show in season 3.
I really like it when it's not like 3-on-1, everybody against Diane, but when I like it when Carla voices frustration with the whole thing. That just kind of like evens it out, and I think works really, really well.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. Agreed. It was a nice balance. It's so weird how hard they committed to the Cliff, Florida thing this season. Just this one season.
I didn't get it.
Florida was a bigger deal in the 80s. That could very well be its own 80s moment. Like there were commercials just for the state of Florida. Do you remember that, Dave?
I do. Yeah. Like I remember.
You need it bad. We got it good.
Yeah.
What?
Yep. When you need it bad, come to Florida. There's this little kid coming in from the snow just going, Mom, I need it bad. There was
a pair of khaki pants draped on the radiator.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
People, but people went to places in Florida other than Disney on purpose.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. By the way, that was something I jotted down, like Pensacola, Orlando, like, man, Florida's a big state. How long was Cliff there?
He said 2 weeks. Yeah.
Was it 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2
I
weeks
think
at
so.
Disney is too much.
It had to be because he really made his way around the state of Florida.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
having driven through Florida before, it's an odyssey.
yeah, that's a 8 to 10 hour trip from top to bottom.
Yeah.
There are time limits on vacation destinations in my mind. 3 days in Vegas tops, because then after the 4th day, you start seeing the goat people and the
Yeah.
the other rogue things that walk around. I'm good.
Yeah.
You can walk up and down the strip. 3 days in Vegas tops. 6 nights at Disney World.
Oh, that seems like a lot to me, and I have
Mhm.
I have a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to see all the attractions, all the parks,
Sure.
6 nights.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beyond that, you've really got to be visiting a region.
Mm.
I wonder if there was some sort of, because I feel like Florida, like this weird like Florida New England thing kind of was I wonder if there was some sort of like ad campaign aimed at like resuscitating airlines or generating some sort of like reciprocal travel between those two regions at that time, or if it was just like a nationwide Florida thing, like everybody trying to say like this is a vacation destination, like come to Florida and spend your money here.
Were Pan Am and TWA still running?
I believe
Pan
so.
Am was.
Yeah. Okay.
TWA, I'm almost sure was.
I think so. I'm
Yeah, I don't
sure
think-
they were.
I don't think Pan Am went away until the 90s.
Ah.
I don't think. I don't know. I miss Pan Am. And I really only miss it because of the Aviator.
Oh.
Like, that looked like a fun way to fly.
You like drapes on windows.
I do. I
Respect.
can't help it. With snaps, not buttons.
Oh.
All right. Any other tidbits we want to cover before we get to the categories from this two-parter?
I think we got most of it. It was just sad.
I kind of like that Sam cared so much about ruining Diane's sweater. I like that there was still that feeling of like, I'm really sorry. I looked around for it. That was kind of nice.
The sweater was better than the lion by a long shot.
Yeah.
And the prop was better. Like that tiny sweater was great. That lion prop was gross, and making Diane kiss it was disgusting.
And the sweater didn't make you wonder why these two people who were mostly just having sex together had a hand puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. That was weird. That was all weird. And they made it even weirder that it was like her favorite childhood toy. Like, ugh.
Diane likes her stuffies. They've made some choices.
Wildly uncomfortable. All right. Your joke of the week. I already threw out that's a tough thing for a grown man to admit. We had Trevor's, what was Trevor's?
When Norm wept and
he was
is
to
like,
me.
oh, he's not a god, and he was to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tookie, what's your joke of the week?
Okay. I didn't have a joke of the week for episode 2, but in episode 1, I had a couple that I enjoyed. Will lead up to the joke for me. It's when Coach meets Irene and she, hangs up her coat but drops it, and then Coach goes to hang up the coat again and then drops the coat again. I thought that was such a good moment. When she says, "Oh, we're here to rob the place," and Coach leaps up and says, "Everybody do what they say, nobody gets hurt." I thought that was so fun. But one thing, I think my absolute funniest just moment thing that I noticed that was just so funny and bizarre to me, and it was my joke of the week just because it's like such an odd choice. Diane, while reading that Carl Jung book and laughing at Sam, and Sam's like, "What?" And she goes, "Oh no, it's a funny book. It's freaking Carl Jung."
Very fun, subtle joke.
Yeah. So that was my joke of the week.
Very nice. Dave, your joke of the week.
For me, like the funniest beat of both episodes was the lead up to Coach's proposal, where he's soliciting advice from everybody at the bar for how to do it, and then he finally settles down, and he pulls out a sheet of paper because he has some thoughts on how to proceed to propose to Irene, and it's just It's just a list of things. It starts with like, I'm not a rich man. I'm not a young man. I'm not he goes through all of these things that he, all of his like detriments to his personality. And then it like leads into, it veers off into, I'm not a mailman. I'm not a gingerbread man. And like mailman was so good that it got the laugh, but then it continued with, I'm not a gingerbread man. And that like, that killed me. I'm not a gingerbread man.
Yeah.
And then like he throws the paper down and crumples it up and prepares to speak for his heart and says, I don't need notes to tell you how I feel. And then he takes a beat and says, well, actually, maybe I do. And he bends over and he picks it up and he starts right from the beginning again. That was my joke of the week, was everything to do with the list, but specifically, I'm not a gingerbread man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Fabulous. Honorable mention to some of the good lines between Sam and Diane as they're roasting each other. With the dream, oh, is it the one about the white horse? One end of it. Very good.
Is that a reference that I didn't get? Because is that like a common
that
dream?
used to be a thing where it's like a dream of like a white horse in a dream was very sexual.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of a trope. Like if you ever remember the episode of the Patrick Swayze Saturday Night Live with Hans and Franz.
Sure, yeah.
He's riding with the white horse and puts Hans up on the horse. The Patrick Swayze episode of Saturday Night Live, by the way, one of the all-time classics.
Is that the one where
perhaps overwhelmed? What is that?
Is that the one where he Chippendales with Chris Farley?
Yes, and that's the thing.
Okay.
It's almost overwhelmed by the popularity of the Chippendale sketch because there are multiple excellent sketches on there. The Hans and Franz one, the cold open, which was Dirty Square Dancing, which is really, really wonderful. Go back and look at that. And just the fact that he is filming Point Break at that point and is doing the whole episode with the giant blonde 80s hair.
Yeah.
Really great. It's really fabulous.
Swayze was too good for this world.
Yep. He's gone to a better place. We didn't deserve him. All right. What was your 80s moment of the week, Dave?
I'm going to go with the idea that they explore in episode 2 that you can just disappear physically from the world. Irene moves, doesn't give Coach her new address. Apparently he doesn't have her phone number. So she's just gone. Unless she wants to reach out, she is vanished from the face of the world. And I can't say that life would be better if that was a possibility still today, but there are certainly times when I think I would appreciate the ability to simply vanish.
There you go. Good 80s. Tookie, your 80s moment of the week, please.
I had a couple that leaped out at me.
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. In across the board in episodes 1 and 2, Irene's outfits, because the hair that's tapered in the bottom and then kind of poofs out on top, and it's curly permed, with the shoulder pad outfits and the brooches that she'd wear, like very much a look of the time. So that leapt out to me. Carla's
someone trying to do Dynasty.
Yeah. Franchise, not quite Dynasty. Not quite a dynasty. A franchise.
The TV show.
Yeah. No. I know.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
They were aiming for Dynasty. We got a little bit of, background extra from Designing Women, kind of.
You're just young enough, Tookie, that every once in a while I have this moment where I'm like, does she know that thing?
Yeah.
And then you always know that thing. So I'm going to stop wondering.
I know a lot.
About important things, not stupid 80s things, though. And then you do know the stupid 80s thing. So I stand corrected.
Well, some I didn't know about. There have been moments. We've had moments. Okay, but a lot of my act hinges on pop culture.
Truth.
Yes. So the Bigfoot tabloids, the UFO tabloids that Carla was reading, that was definitely an 80s thing that leaped out at me. Sam talking about, oh, well, I got to show a couple of women, like that whole, man puts a woman in their place situation, that and a couple of expressions when Carla says cheese it, very 80s, to run and get out the room. Diane yelling at Coach, wake up and smell the coffee. It's not a thing that people necessarily say in earnest these days. But I think the most 80s moment, was seeing that frilly Teddy from the House of Ooh La La.
Mm.
That kind of lingerie is of a time, I think.
It's
Indeed.
the kind of lingerie you find on top of a pair of cargo pants every once in a while.
Well, hey, whoa.
Not in my house, but
All right. But yeah, a Teddy from the House of Ooh La La, because I feel like that's when Victoria's Secret was starting to become a thing, but Fredericks of Hollywood's was the thing, and I think they were kind of trying to play off of that. And you gotta dig around at like specialty stores or the garment district to find something like that, whereas they were a little bit more accessible to an extent in the 80s. So that kind of garment to me, where lingerie now is much more of a casual affair. That leapt out to me as like, whoa, what a time.
Very 80s.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we do whiteness first or Sam creepy quotient? I feel like maybe whiteness because the creepy quotient's going to take a little extra this week.
Okay. These 2 episodes were pretty white. Interesting though. They switched it up a lot because I noticed a lot of people who were a bit ethnically ambiguous. So a lot of people could have been Latino or of Middle Eastern or Mediterranean descent. So that was interesting to see, different ethnicities that you wouldn't necessarily pinpoint as like, hey, you're different. It's just like, oh, okay, you are very Portuguese or like very Albanian, right? So it was interesting to see that. A couple of Black people I saw peppered in, they actually reused an extra at one point. They reused an extra. This woman could have been Dominican or she could have been light-skinned Black, but they reused it. She had like the stripe overall get up with like some pigtails and some hoop earrings. And so she was sitting at the bar in one episode, and then in episode 2, she was like standing on the other side of the bar. So they reused her for a couple of shots. But I did see, so I would say about like 6 ethnically non-white people overall in the episode. A Black man in the back, just one Black man in the back by the piano during episode 1, and then 2 Black people enter. And then in episode 2, a Black woman by the back wall, and in the wedding or proposal scene, 2 Black people on the back wall. So that makes for 6 if you count the extra that they reused.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
I mean, not a great number for a full hour, but still.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Sam creepy quotient
76.
One for every trombone that played every time he opened his mouth.
It was a rough one. Just the not leaving poor Sue alone. The things he talked about with trying to entice her.
Yeah.
The Diane stuff. The tongue with the puppet. The relief map of his body. Nude limbo. Yeah, I mean, I stopped counting after a little while. Just a tough hour for Sam.
Bazongas.
Oi.
Bazongas. Oh.
Can I offset that with a couple other things that I noticed?
Absolutely. If you can, I'd love you.
Okay, a teachable moment. Diane uses the apparent plural of bimbo as bimbi.
Bimbi, very nice.
I like that, yeah.
That was interesting. I looked up the etymology of bimbo. It does come from Italian.
Okay.
Yeah, meaning male baby. Like bambino.
Like
it's
bambino.
just kind of, yeah. And then it somehow got affixed to women.
So women making too many babies?
No, like because misogyny, because women are infantile or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. But we celebrate the himbos in the 2020s now.
We do.
We do. And then the Boston moment for me was the way Coach says Italian. Like I only ever hear people from a certain region with a certain kind of accent say Italian the way Coach says it's Italian, like with an E in the middle instead of an A.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like my Boston moment where I've only ever heard people of a certain region say Italian instead of Italian.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to echo Sam's creepy quotient Tookie score. Just rough.
Yeah.
Just very rough.
Yeah. This is a top 3 scoring episode.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. We got to wrap this up momentarily because we have to keep this under a certain time limit so that we can broadcast it later. Do you guys have anything to plug this week?
Nothing to plug. Oh, I have one other interesting little tiny factoid.
Mhm.
Betty Ford, who played Irene, was actually a bullfighter in Spain for a stretch. If you get a chance, check out Betty Ford's Wikipedia page. It's short, but it is fascinating, and she is still with us at the age of 94, I believe.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
yay.
So we see what Coach sees in her. She's carrying decades of lived experience when she walks into the bar.
I'm into
Strong. Yep. You got anything to plug this week, Tookie?
I'll see you at the studio.
Oh, are we on at the same night?
Yeah.
Very nice. We're both going to be there Saturday night at the world famous comedy studio in Somerville. I was wrong about last week, not about this week. 2 shows, 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Come on, check it out. Thecomedystudio.com. They have been selling out on the weekend. So if you do want to come, buy your tickets ahead of time. Very nice. So I got that. Tookie's got that. I am doing another podcast, probably. So we did it. It's weird. It's called Boston Centric. It's a Boston sports podcast because we need more sports podcasts. It's myself and Dan Bolger, who's a super funny guy. He's a good friend of mine. So we did our first one last week. You can go on YouTube and find it because I didn't know we were being filmed.
Oh, snap.
So it's very funny. Like so it ended up just being a video thing. And then our producer was like, yeah, so if you also want to put this on podcast places, here's where you can do that. We're like, oh, this is not at all what we thought was happening. So yeah, but it's very funny. And we talk Boston sports, sports vaccinations. Somehow the North and the South with Patrick Swayze makes an appearance during that podcast. So we're going to be doing that every week. And I think it's going to be audio, but if you want to check out the first one, that's on YouTube. Boston Centric. It's me and Dan Bolger. We're going to start having guests on. Tookie has already been roped into appearing at some point. We'll drag Dave on at some point. We're gonna do stuff. And yeah, we just want to talk Boston sports. So it's what we usually often do in the first 4 minutes of this podcast. We're doing a whole podcast about that. So there you go. I'm going to drag Marvin Hagler into that at some point. And Dan's going to ask me who that is. But it'll be good. It'll be good. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been great to have you here. Stay safe. Get your vaccination on. And go Red Sox. Yay. Bye, everybody.